Hello and welcome to today's episode. Before we begin, I need to let you know that we'll be discussing a sensitive topic today. We'll be talking about suicide. If you or someone you know may be struggling with suicidal thoughts or feelings, I urge you to seek help immediately. I understand that this can be a difficult and emotional topic to talk about, but I hope that discussing it openly and honestly will help bring awareness and support to those who need it. Thank you for listening. Hello and welcome to episode 28 of 50 Women Over 50, a podcast for women whose personal confidence is born of experience. I'm your host, Sherrilynne Starkie. In this podcast project, I am interviewing 50 women from all walks of life who are over 50 years of age because I want to find out what they've learned by this decade so that we can all learn from them. Today, I'm welcoming to the show TV news veteran Susan Murphy, who is now a voice coach and mentor working with broadcasters around the world. To be successful in network news takes a certain toughness and resilience, but nothing could have prepared Susan for the utter devastation of losing her husband, who died by suicide when Susan was in her late 50s. In this interview, she talks us through how she's putting her life back together little by little and is finding a new way forward. So tell me a little bit about your 50th birthday.
My 50th birthday, the only birthday I cried on.
Oh.
Got through 30, no problem. 40, oh yeah, 40. Everybody said 40 was going to be so hard. No, I remember 40 as being a breeze. Woke up at 50, yeah, and spent a few minutes, just minutes, crying. And I'm not sure why. But I think it's because at 40, you can say, oh, I'm not even to the halfway point yet. And at 50, you can say, I'm past the halfway point.
Yeah.
So I think it's just the recognition of your own mortality, but I'm not sure of that. I don't know why. And it was only a few minutes. And I just, oh, Susan, this is ridiculous. Cut it out. Move on. And I did.
And you didn't, you weren't thinking about it at age 49, like, oh, next year it's going to be 50 and I'm going to be over the hill or anything like that?
No. It was literally waking up knowing, oh my gosh, this is the big 5-0. It never occurred to me at 49 and 364 days. No. Nope.
And so that it was just like a quick minute and then you got on with it.
Kind of, yeah. But I did cry, and I was surprised that I cried.
Well, you don't know how, it kind of depends where you are in your life and what's going on, I think.
Yeah, true.
Mm-hmm.
True.
I'm totally embarrassed by this now, but I cried on my 25th because I was a quarter century old and I had done so little with my life.
Oh, okay. Yeah. One of those things that I wish I knew then what I know now, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I know. I was very sour about the whole thing. In fact, my girlfriends teasingly gave me sympathy cards for my birthday.
Wow, you really let everybody know that this was not your best moment or your most favorite moment.
Yeah, That's right. Oh well, got over it.
Yeah, right. And look, you've doubled it. You've doubled it.
Yeah, and I've done a lot of living in the interim, that's for sure.
Not the truth.
Yeah. So you didn't do anything to prepare for your 50s?
Anything to prepare? No.
Yeah. Didn't have
No. Prepare for my 50s.
Yep.
That never occurred to me. I did notice that once you hit 40, there are some physical, medical things that start to slide. And once I hit 50, I mean, I think it literally happens on the decade.
Yeah.
At 50, on either side of 50, I needed cataract surgery and a hysterectomy. So the medical things start to slide, but prepare for never occurred to me.
Yeah. Okay.
I just always look forward. I'm not one for nostalgia. I'm not one who looks back. I just keep going. I don't prepare for anything. My career journey was radio and television, but I was always willing to pivot, always willing to reinvent, always willing to take a chance, add something, do something different if I thought it would push my career forward a bit. because in our business, it's always changing. So you really have to stay on top of it. I don't care what age you are. You got to stay on top of it.
I'm in PR, so I'm kind of tangentially involved in your career. And the women in television news that I know that are in my peer group, a lot of them had the challenges when they got in their 50s. A lot of them were made redundant and shown the door, or told their job was changing significantly, so they were getting less airtime, things like that. Did you experience any of that?
You put me right back to the age of 43. And I was doing on-air work for public television. And we had gone to Wales to interview Charlotte Church. I did quite a bit of interviewing with her because she and I got along so great. And it was the first time we were using HD cameras. And I knew what they were, but I had never been on HD before. Fine, we did the shoot. Everything went well, came back, saw the piece after it was edited, and gasped a little at the wrinkles, at the misplaced hairs, at the detail of my skin was breathtakingly awful. And at that moment, I decided, okay, I think I'm going to switch to off air. I'll do voiceover. I'll do lots of other things. I'll produce. But I think I'm going to end my on-air career here. And I look back at that and think, oh, that was a little premature. They hadn't yet invented makeup that is good for HD camera. They hadn't really, it was so raw, quite literally, that there weren't things yet you could do to soften it. And I wish I hadn't made that decision when I did, but I did. And okay, so that just led me down different paths. But yes, as you get older, what you look like to others and to yourself on camera is very harsh. It's the only way I can describe that. We are hard on ourselves that way, and that's just the decision I made hastily.
Yeah. So you self-selected.
Yes, I self-selected. I didn't allow myself to get to the point where I was going to be made redundant, or I was going to be less, or I was going to be pushed to the side. I know how that works. In a voiceover career, for example, I know that even though I've kind of always sounded like this, even in my 30s, I sounded like this. Most people know my age, and I've been made redundant on several jobs because of that. Even though I don't think I sound 60, almost 67, but I've been pushed away from jobs because of my voice. I knew I was going to be pushed away from a job because of my looks. I made sure that didn't happen. Did not think it was going to happen in voice, but it did.
Incredible.
Maddening. Why?
Do you
because
know
why?
I know. Do you know who Lisa LaFlamme is?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Gray hair. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I didn't know if that story went beyond our borders or not.
Oh, it made lots of news in the trade magazines here in the US, and we were all talking about her for a while. We're very familiar with her, and that is something that did not have to happen, and I can only hope that for her, living well will be the best revenge. Somebody should snap her up. Somebody should give her the proper platform to share just what living as long as we have lived brings to an on-air presenter.
Yeah.
Oh,
her story was part of what inspired me to do this podcast too, because I was so upset when I saw that happened to her. And of course, she's such a smart woman, and so she has been making hay, or making lemonade, I guess, is the old adage I'm looking for. She almost immediately got a job with a competing network to go and cover the royal funeral.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah. And then that was like a special project. And then we have the Canadian version of the Grammys, and
yes,
she submitted all her work herself and won.
Ooh, living well is the best revenge.
Yes.
Yay, Lisa.
Yeah, good for her. I could imagine she'll be having her own podcast or something lately sometime soon. I would love for you to come on the show, Lisa, if you're listening to this. I would
please do. I will be right here listening.
So, what advice would you give your 30-year-old self if you could?
I've been asked that question before, and the answer is always the same. I wouldn't. She wouldn't listen. So I don't think being able to go back and telling your younger self, well, you should, or you could, or don't. A, I wouldn't listen. B, so much of what happens to you in life has to happen because it has to happen. And you can't go over it. You can't go under it. You got to go through it. So I'm not here to offer anybody any shortcuts. Go through it.
You're the first of my 27 interviewees that has that answer.
Really? I know everybody seems to have that. Oh, girl, don't work so hard. Girl, stand up for yourself. Girl, you shouldn't have married that man. Oh, girl, No. Learn for yourself. I think we at our age can share with younger women our philosophies and strategies in navigating their lives in their 20s and 30s. But of course, my life at 20 isn't today's 20-year-old's life either. So I don't pretend to know that what the answers are. I can listen, I can support, I can offer a shoulder, I can give you a viewpoint, but I can't walk in your shoes. I can just tell you, maybe if you wanted to know what happened to me or how I handled something. And funny you should bring that up, in my coaching business, most of the young women and men I coach are in their 20s. And what I have found with many of them, not all, and maybe it is because they are in the performing, for lack of a better word, space, that many of them don't have a support system that understands them, a support system at all, or someone who has even an inkling of what their job entails, and then how hard that job can be on your personal life, on your mental health. So I do think that I can help and I can support. And it is part of what I do. And I didn't think it would be necessarily. And I love to do it because I do think that we have a lot to offer. And if we can assuage a fear or make getting past this rough patch in your life easier, well, then yay us. So support is very necessary for young people these days. So many of them don't have it.
And do you think that the struggles of a young person going into the broadcast news or any kind of journalism really have similar struggles to what you had, or has it changed beyond all recognition?
Oh, they have so many more. I tell them I don't think I could do what they do now. There is so much reliance on technology that nobody encourages the intellect, nobody encourages voice, nobody encourages work-life balance, nobody encourages how to approach something with intelligence and emotion and heart, but being fair. None of that is taught because it's all about the technology. So when they come to me, because their voices aren't trained or because they realize there's some deficit in how they sound on air, what I can offer is not just finding your authentic voice and building a beautiful on-air presence, but I can give them strategies in how to put a story together, how to explore both sides, how to be fair, how to approach certain subjects, because that's not done anymore. Their job is so much harder than mine ever was. So I have great sympathy. I can't have empathy. I have great sympathy for them. It is such a huge learning curve, those first few years in our business. First few years, I guess, in any business. And if you don't have the right people behind you, and many of them don't, as we now know, many of them drop to the wayside between years 1 and 2 or between years 2 and 3, because it's just too hard. There's not enough money. It completely destroys a social life or a romantic life, or pulls you away from your family, either physically or emotionally. And that's another thing too. I don't think young people today grow up as tough as we did.
When we were youngsters growing up, like, people on TV were in Hollywood, a far-flung place we kind of heard of, but couldn't really conceive of where it was or what happened there. And now everyone's on camera all the time. And there are stories about people in your neighborhood that have millions of followers. And so it seems a lot more tangible to you and a lot more accessible. And so I feel like the competition must be just ramped up, because you know that there's 10 other people maybe living in your street or in your neighborhood that are vying for your position in the media.
That was true, I'll say, maybe even 5 years ago. Not true now. Okay. There aren't enough people coming up. And those people who are coming up sometimes, I want to be on TV because it's so glamorous. And boy, that's the last thing it is. You're so right about, they live on phones. They're always on camera. Their births were recorded. Pictures were taken of them at every possible moment. They take pictures at every possible moment. So you're right. Very few people are afraid of a camera. When you go to ask them a question, or to see if their life experience or their schooling or education has given them a basis with which to discuss something intelligently, reasonably, ethically, kindly. No, they don't have that ability at all. And that's another shortcoming. And then what they observe around them is not helping anybody either. Oh, we could do a whole show on that. Let's not.
I think that would be a different podcast.
That's a different podcast. Oh, yes. Yeah.
So what surprised you about life after 50?
I knew you were going to ask me this question, and I debated whether to tell the truth. And I'm going to tell the truth.
Please do.
Nothing changed from 50 to 51 or 52. Nothing changed until I was 57. And my husband died by suicide. And there aren't words for that in any possible realm of that circumstance. But when you learn after the death of someone by their own hand, the secrets that they kept and the horrible pain that they endured that you had some clue about, but had not even close to the whole clue about, it makes moving on hard, but necessary, of course, for all of us. So what I found after my husband's death was that I think it's important at some point in your life to find a team. I needed a team. And there are certain people who will immediately flock to you and lift you up on the days you can't, and be there in the moments no one else is, and remember you on the days when you think you've been forgotten. And those people are magic gifts from God. But then what I learned is that after a year after his death, I was living on Long Island at the time, and my daughter had moved, my one daughter, only daughter, had moved to Charlotte. And I thought, okay, a year has gone by. They say you shouldn't make any big decisions within a year of that death. So I'm going to move to Charlotte. And which is a big, I mean, I'm 58 years old. I'm picking up everything I know, moving to a state where I know no one except my daughter. But under those circumstances, I had already had my breath taken away and my knees knocked out from underneath me. So I thought, I can do this again. Why can't I? I've been through the worst thing I think I could be put through. So I did. And I look back on that experience, little miracles appeared, unbidden by me, but they did, whether it was people to help me move or people to buy furniture or people to my sister driving me, the dog, 2 cats, and a U-Haul trailer from Long Island to Charlotte, where we get lost after dark and she has to back up the trailer because I've now completely lost it. Thank God for her. So these miracles happen. And when it came to buying the new house, friends of friends here in Charlotte, when it came to finding a church, friends of friends, and I magically become enmeshed in the most supportive group I could possibly find. So, long way of saying, we're all going to be widowed. If we're married, we're all going to be widowed one day. If we're single, we're all going to lose friends along the way. So finding your team is important. Mine had to happen at that moment, but I'm now really glad I have one. And the members kind of come in and come out. Many stay forever, not everybody. So get your team together. That's what I would recommend. And that was my big surprise. And now that I'm in my 60s and have pivoted again toward a different career path in coaching, being on podcasts and connecting with people help create a team. Your LinkedIn community creates a team. Teamwork makes the dream work. Oh, how cliche, but how true.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think the pandemic taught us all how important connection is, really, when you're forced out of your networks and your connections. It can be.
Yes, very true. I was nannying at the start of the pandemic here in Charlotte, and with a family where what we agreed was we'd be a little pod. And so the dad in that family did my grocery shopping, and I would just all I did was go from their house to mine. I would occasionally see my own daughter and now her husband, and at the time the baby wasn't born, but I would see them at a distance, whereas I would see the family I nannied for very close up. But we learned how to reconnect. Those of us who were lucky learned how to reconnect. Not everybody did.
It sounds like you have no plans to retire. You have no plans to retire? No?
What's retire? No, retire. I do sometimes think of that word. And here in the US, 65, well, I had collected Dan's Social Security, but when I turned 66 and a half, which was my retirement age, I could collect my own Social Security, which was higher and blah, blah, blah. So there are touchstones that move you toward retirement. But no, I can be a voice coach for as long as I have a voice, and Zoom. I have clients in Australia and all over, I won't say all over the world, that's a little far flung, but in Canada and all over the US. So, and I am the grandmother now of 21-month-old Murphy B. Well, she is the light of my life. She is, you can't explain grandparenthood. It's like trying to explain birth.
Yeah.
You can't explain that either.
No. I agree with you.
How many grandchildren do you have?
I have 2 and 1 on the way. I might have to cut that out. I have to ask. But I have 2 and 1 on the way, and I'm super, I just love it. I mean, it was, becoming a grandmother was a life-changing moment for me. Definitely. Almost as profound as becoming a mother. In a different way.
Maybe more.
Yeah.
Maybe more, because I don't know about you, but okay, I became a mother, but I'm still working and I got Now, mothers are more thoughtful about taking leave and and bonding and being with the babies. We didn't do that 40 years ago. But as a grandmother, you can.
Yeah.
So I just love that child beyond.
I know. And if your daughter's like mine, she's like, I can't believe this is my mother. I'm like, anything you want, kids, anything.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Fine bone china. Let me empty out the china cabinet. Let's do it.
Yep. It's our prerogative, and I don't want to hear about it from anybody.
Yeah, totally agree with you about that.
Yep.
What are you most hopeful about for the future?
Living in the US, it's hard to be hopeful. That's all I can tell you, Sherrilynne, on many levels. Economically, politically, environmentally. That's true everywhere. It's hard to be hopeful. I'm not going to lie. I am hopeful that families are still having children, which means they have a belief in the future. And I want every child to grow up safe and happy. But even the 20-somethings coming up are having trouble with safe and happy. And I would do anything to change that for them. I would take what I experienced and change it. And here, you take safe and happy. I'll take the trouble for now. It's hard to be hopeful, but we're still here. We're not done in yet. Until the last breath, I guess you have to think there is going to be hope. You have to think something will change. Groups of people will, you and I have lived long enough to see women and people of color treated as second-class citizens. I mean, I can't believe when I can recall when Black people didn't have the right to vote. I can recall when schools were segregated. Mm-hmm. Takes my breath away to think of that sometimes. But when I see history going backwards, when I see groups of people lose hard-fought and not nearly complete victories, and now they're all being taken away, whether it's reproductive health or voting rights or name it, we all need to do something about that. Mm-hmm. What are we going to do? Mm-hmm. Is my Murphy B? Are your two grandchildren going to make those changes? I hope so.
I am optimistic they are, because you know what? We've walked this planet for millennia and we still keep going forward. I know it can be scary, especially in this super hyper media time where there's just news flooding over you every waking hour, and you never get away from it, right?
Nope.
But I actually do think that although there are some important setbacks, overall, the Delta progress is still marching forward.
Well, then hope a little bit more for me too, and I will rest in that power that you're hoping more for.
Is there a book or a show that you'd like to recommend?
You know what I love to read? I love to read historical fiction, and I love to read about anything that happened, say, from the 15th century all the way up through, and I kind of almost have a cutoff date, World War II. If it happened after World War II, I don't know, not interested. But I do love to see history from any country through a historical fiction lens. Anna Karenina on tape, long and fascinating. So just the classics and historical fiction. Watching TV, not so much. Who goes to the movies anymore, really? To keep on in the background, it's either the home improvement shows or the cooking shows. I'm not much of a TV watcher. I love to be online and read about certain things. And then books are my historical fiction.
Is there an app that you couldn't live without?
LinkedIn. Poof. Love LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I didn't discover it until about 2 years ago when I sort of hung out my shingle as a voice coach, even though it's been around forever. But what a great community it is. I almost spend no time on Facebook anymore. except to catch up with family photos and that kind of thing. But, I love LinkedIn. You can learn so much. Love it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was on LinkedIn before I was on Twitter, and I just had my 17th Twitter birthday. So yeah, been on LinkedIn a long time. But I agree with you. It's actually the most active and vibrant of all my channels that I participate in. A close second, I think, would be TikTok. But
really,
yeah, I think that the people, they're not there for entertainment, right? They're there for connection.
Right.
And that makes a difference. Mm-hmm.
And vibrant is exactly the right word.
Yeah, exactly. And is there an over 50s life hack that you'd be willing to share?
An over 50s life hack. If we're married, we're all going to be widowed one day. If we're single, we're all going to lose friends along the way. So finding your team is important. Mine had to happen at that moment, but I'm now really glad I have one.
Hey, I love that.
Anytime you're over something, that implies you're less or behind or beyond. No, I'm just under 90. I'm working my way to 90.
Good. I like it. Mm-hmm. It's all a matter of perspective.
Yes. Is
there anything I haven't asked you about that you'd like to share?
No, I honestly, Sherrilynne, have so thoroughly enjoyed this conversation because we talked about life and not so much about what I do. And no, I think this is really going to become one of my favorite podcast episodes because it was sparkling and refreshing to me.
Well, thank you very much. This has been 50 Women Over 50, a podcast for women whose personal confidence is born of experience. And thank you to my guest, Susan Murphy. After having just one conversation with her, I feel we are friends, and we are both hoping that we'll be able to meet in person sometime soon. Please see the show notes to find links that you need to connect with Susan online and to find out more information about her voice coaching business. Join me again for next week's show, when I will welcome Kirsten Bask, who started out adult life as a corporate lawyer, married to a wonderful guy, and by 50, she became a psychotherapist, got divorced, and fell in love with a fantastic woman. But that's next week. In the meantime, please drop me a rating or a review on Apple or wherever you get your podcast from. Let's connect and create a whole community of wise women over 50 by sharing a link to this show with your friends and connections. See you next time on 50 Women Over 50. I'm your host, Sherrilynne Starkie.